I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The school board will convene to closed session tonight to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or the performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C. Did we have any guests sign up to speak? Carl? No? No? Okay. Are there any items anyone wishes to have removed from the consent agenda?
I would just like to mention the under correspondence. I'd like to thank the fifth graders for sending out thank you notes. I think those soft skills are important in this day and age, and this young person sent a very nice thank you note. So compliments for, I'm sure you and the teachers had something to do with encouraging them.
The teachers did. Very
yeah. Thank you.
Then the consent agenda is approved by consent, including donations from Hans Feld, $475 to the music department, and the Jacksonport Area Business Association, $1,000 for the arts, music, and drama department. I will send this thank you card around for a recent funeral donation. Administrator reports. Mr. Hiltz, would you like to start?
Certainly. Talking about Trees for Tomorrow, I would say that was a wonderful experience. I had my first opportunity this fall to go, and it was really neat to see. Probably the most exciting thing was just to see kids in a different environment. As I had mentioned in my report, seeing at least one specific instance where there was a child who normally here at school kind of, when I've been in classrooms, those kinds of things, seems to get kind of pushed to the side a little bit. He's a little less understood. And when we were out at Trees for Tomorrow, they had a challenge where the group of students needed to figure out how they were going to get everyone from one side of this river of lava over to the other side. And the way his mind worked, he was able to figure it all out. It took a little while to get everybody's attention, but once he started explaining it, they realized that he did have the solution, and it was just neat to see that they were willing to follow him at that point, and that's not something that he always gets to experience here in school. So that was really, really cool to see. The only other thing to highlight is having attended the Elementary Principals Conference. It was neat to see some of the speakers that were there. One of the things that we're doing this year as a staff is reading a book called Unselfie at Sue's recommendation, and I thank you for that. Mm-hmm. The staff is working its way through that, but it was nice because the author was at that event, and just to get some insights from her about her book as we're going through it was neat to have.
She also spoke at the State School Board Convention last year.
Ms. Margaret?
Yeah. A couple of things that I want to add to in addition to what my board report had said, but I wanted to update the board on the reunification process that's happening. I started working with Sergeant Albertson and selected personnel from each school district, and we've been working in the summer through the fall to put a reunification process together in the event that we would have to respond to any crisis that would happen at school. And I'm proud to say that the reunification kit is all done and completed, and Sergeant Albertson and myself presented to the administrators on yesterday. And so everyone has a basic idea of what the reunification process is going to be. And then today my job was to ask some of our teachers to sit on the team, and they have all said yes. So as of right now, we have 7 teachers that will be a part of the reunification team. Along with Sergeant Albertson, they're going to train us and go through tabletop exercises to make sure that we know how to react appropriately and calmly and professionally if we ever had to respond to a crisis that would happen at another school. And the one other thing that I want to say to that too is that every school is going to be trained in the same exact way. So it's a common language, it's a common process, and it's really slick and simple for it to be designed for, a crisis situation. So I'm happy that we're really moving forward with that. And then the second thing I'd like to add is that Melissa Andrews, our mental health navigator, is coming in on November 6th to facilitate a game that's called the Brain Game. The Brain Game is an actual experience and a game where people put together a brain according to different cards, and the brain, you put pieces together, and basically what it does is it simulates what a brain would look like if a person is experienced toxic stress and long-term stress. And what I wanted to do is see if anybody here at the board would be interested in playing the game with us. It's November 6th at 9 o'clock, and she's looking for people to start that process with. So if anyone doesn't have anything to do on the 6th, please come play the Brain Game with us. Yeah. And finally, and then I'll stop talking, we're hoping that if this is a hit and it's something that we think is really valuable, our teachers will experience that, and we might be able to offer it as a community program so our community can understand the effects of trauma. And when we're talking about trauma-sensitive school all the time, and they can come in and actually have a hands-on experience to understand, hey, this is what could happen to our kiddos' brains, you know, when they're exposed to stress. So please come in and join us if you can. That's it.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to start with our student council report, if that's okay. Student council started the year by holding elections. The new advisor is Mr. Judas, while Mr. Schleiss and Mrs. DeYoung are helping out whenever they can. The group elected Halen Retzloff as president, Rebecca Andre as vice president, Abby Showski as secretary, and Lexi Hinkle as treasurer. Their first task was a homecoming tailgate party. After a couple weeks of preparation, they were able to put together face painting, poster making, cornhole, football toss, and some prizes for kids. Although it was a bit chilly, there was a good turnout and people supported the Pioneers. The next thing that they're working on now is the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Jacksonport. As a whole, we are coming together to get donations for companies, ideas for a person to help out this year, and dates to make the banners for the parade. Throughout the school year, they're trying to accomplish some goals. Some of their goals wrap around vending machines, potholes, speed bumps, and cell phones. Any questions? All right. I'd like to start with my report just by talking about homecoming week for a second. It was a great week. It was a celebration. It was wonderful to see our kids in a lot of different venues. We had everything from dress-up days, Mr. Sevastopol tailgate party, of course the dance and post-homecoming. They were all successful. I think we had over 180 kids at our dance, which is a great turnout. That's almost our whole entire high school population, so it's outstanding. But then again, at the post-homecoming, we had almost 50% of our kids, which is a really good turnout too, and that's a really late evening. So I think everybody who was involved with that, specifically Mrs. Hasenmaker, who was the new leader for homecoming this year. Another thing that I'd like to share is Challenge Day. We are having Challenge Day again this year. It was a wonderful activity last year. I know some of our school board members had students that participated, and I believe it was a good event. I'd really like to ask some school board members to be part of that this year. If you can volunteer for that day, it is a full day, but it's a great way to get to know our kids and really learn about our culture and our school. And so I invite you to be part of that on December 10th. Just let me know. The last thing that I'd like to share is just before this meeting, I had a chance to attend the conference, girls swimming relays. And we have some talented swimmers. Oh my goodness. I was only able to stay for half of it, but out of the 5 races, we won 3 of them and got second place in the other 2. So, and our Sevastopol girls contributed in a big way. One of the teams was almost all Sevastopol girls, 3 out of the 4. The other thing is soccer. We're almost conference champions in soccer. We were hoping to play the second game with Sturgeon Bay, but it got canceled and didn't get rescheduled. Had we beat Sturgeon Bay again, because we beat them the first time, I think we would have had a share of the conference championship in boys soccer, which is an excellent accomplishment for them. So I'm really proud of where soccer has come and where they've gone. And again, we've got several boys that contribute. Finally, I mean, all of our seasons were good, but volleyball had a major upset win on Tuesday night, and now they're playing in Utsman tonight. So I'm getting updates on my phone, and I might give you if I'm here. And I'm really excited to see how they do today, and I hope they bring home another win. So we've got some great teams. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Lukey.
Just 2 things. We had Aaron Malcheski from CISA 7 out today. He met with all the action team leaders. I don't know, there's 3 team leaders here right there, but I think they have better direction The CISA 7 model is pretty cumbersome for the folks that have full-time jobs and then take that on. So we talked to Aaron about cutting it back, paring it down so it fits our parameters here. And I think we're on a good schedule now. And I'll let them chime in because
Yes. Yeah. I think it unified us again because it'd been a while since the strategic planning team had met and then the school year started. And then with everything else that's on everybody's plate just because of life and your job, that it re-energized us and unified us again to do the work that we need to do. And that's how I felt about it. And it definitely streamlined the end and how we get there so we can see that again. So that's my perspective.
Absolutely, we had a chance to share our goals too, the action steps that each group was taking, and it was reassuring to hear everybody's progress and really the great things that are going to come forward with the school board as we move forward. So it's really exciting in many areas, and in each one of them there's some valuable goals for our kids.
Is there a new timeline now?
we're hoping they come to the board in February. Is that right?
We said February.
We're hoping. Okay, yeah, see,
Yeah.
they would have to go to March because I'm not on an action team, so I'm okay with pushing them to February. So no, they're smart to say maybe March, so yeah.
Well, one of the other components is that the way he had it chunked out, it was meetings that were 2 and 3 hours at a time. And it's just difficult to have staff commit that kind of time to it. So when you start pulling those things out, it just stretches that timeline a little bit.
And we want to do the process correctly. We don't want to force it, he had said something about a good idea that's not planned properly is worthless. So having that extra month or 30 days, I really think we can all appreciate it and be able to present something that's well thought out and meaningful to you all.
When this was started, the initial thoughts came up, there was comments and discussion about as you're going through this process, and maybe that's what you just did, is always revisiting what we're currently doing in our school and all our meetings and all your admin meetings to integrate or weave this into that workload so that when this first phase or whatever is done, it really helps maintain because strategic planning is a process. It's not an end game. It's an ongoing process. So, I guess my question is, do you see that kind of coming together where with these meetings and that the things you're talking about or learning would help us? So there's an end report or something and this gentleman will move on. There might be some small nuggets that help us beyond that. And I just didn't know if you're there yet, or if any of that even makes sense, right?
It does make sense. We're not there yet. There was a couple of items, like I'm thinking of Holly Retzloff and Jen Wiesner's teams. The ideas they brought up, we're going to have to periodically revisit them and make sure they're on task and going there. But you can't it's not one and done. It's going to have to be continuous.
But it's also, you guys are heavily loaded. That's what was the whole point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy to implement what I just said, but I think that would be the smartest way to make it done right is realistically looking at the meetings you already have, the hours you're already putting in, and even to the point where maybe something is, hey, this actually fits this nut, and we get rid of something else. I don't even know what that would be, but process improvement is great, but the reality is you just can't make more time in a day. I just wanted to recognize that. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Well, it is, and it's been nice because Mr. Litke has helped with that, because at first that process, I think we were all like, what? And I remember we all came in and we said, this is what we're expected to do, and he was like, that's impossible to be able to do with taking care of kids here too. So we've had some, support from Mr. Litke to streamline it and make sure that the things that are essential are done very, very well. And I feel like we have a better vision.
Good. I appreciate the update. I was wondering, Kyle, if it might be possible to have Aaron prepare kind of a progress summary for the community members that participated in the initial strategic planning. Those folks gave a tremendous amount of time, and I feel like I appreciate that we have to slow things down, but I really want to circle back and make sure that those participants know
we're still on the track.
At some point, there will be
Yeah,
a time when we bring everybody back in.
I
to
agree,
review
but-
it.
But it's good for them to have an update now, that way they're blowing the wind.
Yeah, and
Right.
I
But
think
just so
we're
you
all,
know that they
Yeah.
aren't left out, that they're gonna be brought back.
Right, but they don't want to be blowing in the wind right now, like we did that last year, nothing happened.
Sure.
Well, at least they can know, yes, things are
because
still
we had a
happening
lot
at
of
that action
community
date.
support, and I just
That was
want
3 days of some
of
intense
intense.
thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea, I think, because if we don't do anything with them until March, that's over a year, so.
Right, right, and they're sitting there wondering, no,
Yeah.
Eric can give us an update. and-
That'd be great.
Yeah. And then the sheet of paper I gave you is some of the information. Last night I met with the support staff and we had a pretty good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting, especially after I got straightened out once, so it was good. There was just, we talked about the issues that they had brought up this summer about compensation. And so I showed them a couple of comparisons of the teacher's aide without a certificate is at $14.91 per hour. And it shows what the total package is worth if you consider the insurance, a family insurance plan. And then on the flip side, it's a custodial at step 3. I picked those two spots in the salary range because the teacher's aide without at start is at $14.91 is the lowest amount. And custodial step is $19.54 is the highest per hour except for the secretaries. And the secretaries are a little difficult because they work year-round, but they're full-time during the school year and part-time during the summer. So I tried to use one that was full-time year-round compared to a 9-month employee to just have a little comparison here. And it was good to get the talk going, and they're going to work on a few ideas they have. They're going to do some comparison with neighboring schools. I reached out to CISA 7 to see what they had for a comparison study that's up to date, and I'll pass it on to them. But I thought overall it was a pretty good meeting last night. So, yeah, the difficult part with the support staff is finding a time when they all can meet, because you have cooks that work one shift, custodians on 2 different shifts, bus drivers that are early and late, so that are there's no, and the aides and the secretaries are busy during the school day, so it's hard. So I might have to have a second meeting to go over this with folks that couldn't make the meeting after school, because there's, so it happens to be groups of employees, they're all together, but they're separate, it's different, so that was good.
Anything else?
No, that's
No?
all.
Okay. I don't have anything, so we'll move on to the core planning team updates. Seems like a long time ago. The one meeting was a lot about furniture. Was the October 3rd? a lot about
October 3rd, we
furniture?
had different groups in 4K through 5th grade with special ed. Guidance counselors were there next week. Tech came in the second time. So we had all the various groups come back in. There was a lot of furniture discussion the first one.
And you and Rock did a survey of the current furniture?
Rock and I went through the 3rd and 2nd floor, each room, and did an inventory of what's acceptable to take in the new building and what needs to be replaced. We did not find a file cabinet in any room on 2nd or 3rd floor that can successfully be locked and unlocked, except for in the district office. And that's disheartening. I mean, they've been getting by with whatever they have. We found a lot of furniture that was, the teacher either brought it from home or didn't know where it came from. They inherited it over time. It's always been in the room. It was Mike Madden's, which tells you how old it is, so the teachers have been getting by with what they can, so it'll be nice, like the desks that we looked at that can be put in collaborative groups and paired together for a pair or a trio or whatever. That's gonna be a lot better, so furniture's in tough shape, so it's good that we get moving on this, so. And we have a special furniture meeting October 30th. Rock and I and the interior designer from Bray. So that's another meeting the 3 of us have. And we have an abatement meeting on November 5th with Myron, Bray, and I don't know what the engineer's name is. So the meetings are picking up here left and right. Yeah.
For the abatement over Christmas holiday or something like that, is that what you're talking about?
That'll be the first thing we'll talk about on that one first, right, yeah. And then I think we'll talk a little bit about when these 2 buildings come down as well. I think we'll just touch on that at this point.
Over Christmas, there's some tiles in the science rooms that have to
Between
be.
the two science rooms, right. No kids are in there right
That'll
now.
have to be taken out.
Right, no students are in those areas at this current time, and they'll be removed until kids are in the building. Talked about
Okay.
wells.
Wells,
Wells and propane tank.
2 wells.
We'll need 2 wells, both commercial grade, and the propane tank, we're gonna purchase a propane tank and have it set back, I don't know how many feet from where it currently is, but it's gotta be set back so many feet from the new building, and with the back road that's gonna go behind the school, the back driveway, I should call that a
I think
road.
it's big enough that a whole semi can come in and fill.
Yeah, so we can fill the semi and get a cheaper rate than what we currently are. And if we own our own tank, then we can go out to bid for our propane as well. So there's a couple of options that are gonna help us in the long run with that.
So, things are moving along. Meet and confer on October 16th.
That was last week. What night was it, Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah. And we had 3 teachers, 3 support staff members, and 3 board members there. Yeah, I don't know, go ahead. You guys were there.
I think there was quite a bit of discussion about time usage, and particularly around parent-teacher conferences, some lengthy days as seen by the teachers, discussion about the dinner break on those days, discussion about workload in preparing for the school year in regard to the staff development days and not having enough time, I guess, was the biggest concern that I heard.
The only thing I would add is, for me, kind of growing in this process is, I think the dialogue was a great dialogue. I think a lot of the questions were good from the staff members. I think sometimes the answer is that there's just not money, and I think it's good to hear that there is concern and dialogue, like at the board level, of are we taking care of our great staff, which is how we feel, properly. And I think there's a lot of discussion on competing with industry and neighboring school districts, and looking at benefits. So what I like about that dialogue is that feedback goes directly to those members in that meet and confer, so that they can kind of hear, instead of, sometimes I think if you don't know, how you interpret your perception might be they don't care and they don't support us. And I think those meet and confers are value added as they keep doing them, and I'm getting more knowledgeable on them, is that communication is more direct to everybody, and I think that matters. I think when I hear that, the boss tells me no, but there's a reason for it, and that's kind of how it is, and with all the priorities and budget concerns and unfunded mandates, we talked about them all the time, that there's still a mandate, but it is unfunded, but we still have to satisfy it. And Sue helped us with some ideas where they're trying to help that with schools, but we're not there yet. So I love those dialogues. It doesn't always give them the answer we're looking for, but it gives us all more on a common ground of, there's some hard decisions and we're trying to prioritize. Everyone brings their inputs the best we can. So that's what I would add to it.
What I would like to see is more staff come rather than erupt from each area. I'd like to see, because it is for the whole staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd just like to see more of them attend.
I would
if they have
echo that
concerns.
too, because
You know.
anyone who has concerns or misunderstandings, doesn't know what the board is doing, because you hear that in some feedback once in a while. I know you're busy, try to get to a meet and confer and ask the questions, and I think the groups will always give you where we're at,
I think it's good to hear too what's good, what's positive, what people like, not just the complaints.
Very good point, yeah.
And the other topic that came up was the perception that there was a need for a math interventionist. And I know, Kyle, you said you would add that to the list of the other needs that have come up.
Multiple staff members have asked me for different positions over
Right,
time.
right.
And those require some data to support.
Well, and the difficulty about adding a position is it's an annual cost, whereas a project, you start it, you end, the cost is gone. If you add a position, it's an annual cost that goes on for a long time. So that's the difficult part about adding a position.
Well, and what I would add to the value of meet and confer, selling it to staff members maybe, is, so there's 6 of them as an example. So Kyle made us aware there's like 6 positions that people have asked for. And my point is, by coming to those meet and confers, you know how you plant a seed and it takes a while to blossom and it gets legs and then boom, a good decision comes out of it. Well, that does take time. You don't have one meeting, right? So if that meet and confers, we keep having the meetings and we hear the good positive things and the things they're trying, certain things like a math specialist or some other thing, it may cultivate into a situation where like, you know what? We need to really look at the budget and bring a new position on. And we're not there yet, but that's the forum to allow the staff to educate all of us, let's say, and then we hear the goods and they may make some progress in the math area, for instance, oh, it's awesome, or something like that. So I just like that limited, effective communication because everyone's busy and stuff, but I like it.
I want to just echo what you said, Dave, that I really appreciate, and that's the fact that this board rotates participation in the meet and confer and how valuable that was to sit on that committee. And maybe that's something that you could take back, Kyle, to the staff around, we rotate so that we have a visual presence with them. Maybe that would spark some.
Well, what I want to say to board members is, I went because I just like to hear the conversation. That's posted as a public meeting, and there may be 2 that are the representative that day, but if you're free, you should go, because I wouldn't have gotten all of the information here. I wouldn't have gotten all the information that I heard at that meeting.
And you can't report back.
You can't
We had
report
one
back
met for an hour and a half, or whatever. You
Yeah.
can't do that here tonight, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. That it's lost in the, right.
It's lost in the, it's lost, so staff should attend, board members should attend if they can, and because the conversation is interesting, and we have so many things to talk about that later in the agenda. Lunch committee.
You took notes.
No, we met on, what day we held?
Monday.
Monday. Casey and I and Jay, and we met in the cafeteria, the new and improved cafeteria. Looks
Very
great.
nice.
Looks awesome. The sound abatement panels are up, all 150 pounds of them and whatnot, and talked about just that process, teased them a little bit because I said this came through pretty quick considering that conversation of how long ago we started talking about it, but it looks great. They've changed their layout. They've to make it more accommodating to the kids. We talked about some ideas of things like what's up next. Grab and go program is something that Casey's looking into, maybe expanding the a la carte options. Talked about some things down the road, possibly future upgrades to the space, and some of the ideas that was a part of the initial design plan that we realized, maybe that's not going to work, but that's okay, because that's what you kind of get in the space and realize, maybe that wasn't the best idea. So those things have kind of been taken off the table and just keeping it going. So we didn't really talk about meeting the next
He
time.
talked about things he'd like to do with the kitchen
Yep.
or the lineup,
Yep.
and
We talked about like equipment. He said really they're doing very well with equipment, but possibly probably the next thing to need in that area would just be a dishwasher at some point. There might be
The
some changes
dishwasher's
to that.
19 years old.
Yeah.
in the last year and a half, it's sometimes business
Had
fits.
some
Yeah,
parts they've
yeah.
got to do.
I guess gives it fits is the best way, yeah.
So, and he explained, changing the configuration of that, which made sense as to why it would be better to change that in the scheme of things. So, but yeah, no, I think it's definitely a good, positive process that's taken place already. I mean, everybody can see it. So if you haven't been in the cafeteria, check it out because it looks amazing.
And when they have a grand opening for the gym, we might like to do something with the lunchroom that night.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we finding the sound abatement is helping in there? Is it
He
quieter?
said, yeah.
Definitely,
It
he
helps a
said,
lot.
even when they just put the initial panels on the walls, they could tell, and now with the ones in the ceiling, he said he feels like they're back to where they were prior to, because, losing that ceiling made it very loud in there. So it's an improvement of what they had been, and if they need to add more, they can.
Okay, so that's that data point I was looking for. So
Yeah.
what the assessment today would be where they are right now for sound control in that room is where they were prior to the.
Prior to maybe a little bit better,
Okay,
because they have,
fair.
you
Worse
took
would
out
not
the
be
soft
better.
surface of a drop ceiling, and now you've got the concrete, but now you've got all these panels in there
Yep,
too.
right, I know that was the
Yeah.
plan.
And he's using his app on his phone to measure the volume.
Yeah.
So
And
he
actually numbers, I
Yeah.
even excited.
did it last year before, And now,
Super.
and he did it throughout the process as 410.
I wouldn't have thought that, but now it's
Yeah, no,
And-
Casey's numbers tracking that.
And when the renovation is completed, we won't need to use the cafeteria probably as classroom space anymore. So
Correct.
then there's a cabinet that would come out and other things that would allow then maybe murals and more sound panels put on that back wall, because then it could be used for that instead of a classroom kind of surface.
Budget report.
So, we need to, and Mike Clark from Baird will probably come at the January board meeting. Oh, you got an extra one, send it to Carl.
Wow,
It's okay.
these are little.
Well, yeah, you need long arms.
I killed myself reading those policies, now we got this.
I thought I had enough. So currently, phase one is the first 20 million for the building project, so that's complete. Now we gotta do phase two. The first page, Mike gave us a couple of examples of what we can do for the second phase. You have the bond one first, the bands. That's what we did with the 20 million, so we could lock in at the best interest rate. So that is your first page. If we want to do that process again, we could. We don't necessarily have to the second time around because interest rates are pretty decent right now. We don't have to do a band to buy us a short-term amount of time to lock in. So he gave us two examples of situations on the second and third page. So if you're just looking at phase two, don't worry about phase one because phase one is done. If you go to the preliminary one, you'll see preliminary. That is if we borrow it over a shorter period of time. It increases the mill rate to $1.19 overall, and that includes the energy efficiency portion, which will drop off after the 22-23 school year. So that is almost done, actually, if you take a look at reality. And he's conservative still here with the interest rates, just like he was conservative with the interest rates throughout the first 20 million and before we went to referendum. So that's one option we have, or the other option would be, this will be your last page, about referendum finance planning. Here he stretches it out a little bit with the first one dividing up into 10 million, 10 million, and having the third phase, which is the next 5.1 million. And you can see that moves the mill rate to $1.20, but he's trying to stretch it out a little bit. Throughout all this, we got to remember that our non-recurring operating cost referendum for $2 million is for this school year and next school year. So that will come off the books in 21-22. And so we will go to referendum. We will probably, I shouldn't say we will probably go to referendum in November of 20 or April of 21 at the latest. And I'm going to recommend November of 20 because if it fails, you want to have a backup date with the way the laws are now. And that would be for the next operating cost referendum. And we got to make some decisions on that as we plan this, because this has a financial impact on houses and businesses. And we got to weigh this plus that at the same time, because we went for 2 years for $2 million each year. At that point, we got to decide if we're going to continue with the non-recurring pathway, or we're going to do recurring. Are we going to do a partial recurring, partial non-recurring? Are we going to do 2 years again? Are we going to go out 3-4 years? In the past, we've gone out 3 or 4 years, and how much that amount will be. And so we got to weigh it all. So these gives you a couple examples of options. Mike will come in January, and then it'll be February, March. He'll start work on that, and then we'll go out and sell the debt in late February, early March. But that's the route we're going with the next 5.1 million. And they're big numbers, and but he is using conservative estimates along the way. And we are in good shape. If you see the mill rate at $1.19, we, for the building referendum, told the folks that their mill rate would go up $1.20 for the building project and 33 cents more, going from 1.5 million to $2 million. So this is still under that. And as we'll get later in the meeting about the revenue limit worksheet, you'll see that our property value increased by about 4%, and that helps our mill rate in there as well.
So when he's here, he'll talk us through, so I mean.
Yeah, he'll run more scenarios
on
than
the
this
impact
too.
numbers and
I mean, he'll meet with Carl
other than
and
just
I.
looking at the numbers,
Mhm.
right, there's other benefits laid into these numbers, right? Because you wouldn't look at the number and say, take this, the 109 versus the 120 and.
Right, because if you look at the preliminary, the phase 2 notes, the interest on that is $659,818. And the other option that he's given us is $1,386,417 in interest. So that's a difference in the interest of
Interest we're paying or interest?
interest we not paying yet, but the different options here when we go for the 5.1 million. The difference in interest is $726,599. But the impact on the taxes is from $1.19 to $1.09 on the mill rate, considering the parameters he gives on the bottom, A, B, and C. So you can go the cheaper route in the short term, but in the long term, it costs you more in interest by almost $750,000. So right now, if I was going to give a recommendation, I'd go with the shorter ones and save the $726,000 in interest. But we got to think about the financial impact on the taxes on that as well. So, and that's why you got to think about this in conjunction with a future operating cost referendum, because they got to dovetail together because they all go on the same tax bill. But that's
Okay,
the
so more
budget.
to come on that.
Yeah, and we got the revenue limit worksheet coming up with final budget later on this meeting too, so.
Anything facilities wise?
The bleachers are being put in as we speak. A crew's coming in this weekend to continue working on them.
Did you say we needed this architecture signature for the bleachers?
Bray gave it to us.
Bray's gonna do
Bray
it.
did.
Okay, thank you.
It's building permit,
Yeah, no, right.
zoning, yeah.
This
it's-
is a big discussion, nobody wanted to
Did
do
we
it.
have to
They said they could do it under their liability because they'll be on site enough that they can sign off on that, right?
tell them thank you?
Yeah, we did. We send them a check every month too, so. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm all right with them, yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Good point. Sue, did you have anything timely you want to report on?
Can I go back on that one? The other thing about the facilities, I do think that the Building and Grounds Committee needs to meet, not about the new addition, but now we have the Fund 46, that $500,000 that we can have access to on July 1, because they'll be in there for 5 years. And there's a whole list of projects in the 65 and 91 sections that need addressing and exterior as well. So we should have a separate meeting sometime to start finalizing that. And it's funny, as the cafeteria and the high school gym have progressed, other people are saying, hey, I got this in my area, or hey, it's good to bring it up because there's a lot of closets and a lot of nooks and crannies that we've been holding on projects until that referendum passed last November, and we weren't spending the money on them because we don't want to spend good money on something that might be destroyed, and we're not spending any money in the 24 and 46 sections for maintenance and, unless it's heating or something we need, but no cosmetics, no upgrades, no, but now we're gonna have to start developing that list a little tighter, so.
I would highly support meeting sooner than later because if we're going to do something, I'll just say it this way, we need to plan far in advance, get contracts awarded so it's done during this summer.
Yeah,
All right, we're a school, we want them done during the summer, we can plan that way, and companies are busy. So we need to book sooner than, you can't call a guy up and have him come next week.
right.
So let's,
Can't even get them to answer the phone a lot.
but, okay, valid point, sir, yeah. So I'm just saying, and then,
Right, and even if we
Email us some
can,
dates, or-
sure, I'll email some dates, but even if we had work done in June, we'll have access to the money in July, and we wouldn't pay it until the work was completely done, the project done. So
and I know that
we
burdens
can do
on
sooner.
Rock and his team for some of the planning, but I'm kind of asking that he considers that, because the longer we put it off, then we're pushing into the school year, and And I know
Oh, yeah.
the whole bleacher scenario, but that wasn't great. So.
No, I mean, great if we could avoid those things.
That wasn't great. So.
No, I mean, great if we could avoid those things. Yeah.
Anything timely for
Yes.
legislative?
We have had a cut in our general aid. We never got much in the past. Last year, 18-19, we got $19,458. And this year, we're getting a whole $7,160. 40% of the public schools are getting less aid this year than last year. 59% are getting more. And I think our taxpayers need to understand that it's not our fault that we're not getting it. It's because we are a property-rich district. Our Wisconsin taxpayers will spend $349.6 million on vouchers. This is up from $302 million from last year. And I think our taxpayers need to know where their money is going. There is a Supreme Court case now dealing with state funding for scholarships at religious schools, which some of the leading authorities feel will have a great impact on public education regarding however this is decided, either positively or negatively, in favor of public schools. The Fair Aid Coalition will have a conference meeting that I will participate in on November 11th to talk about this aid reduction for some of our school districts. And on November 2nd, I will be attending the State Legislative Advocacy Conference in Stevens Point. Representative Kitchens will be a presenter along with Senator Olson. And I will also attend the WASB Board of Directors meeting and the WASB Policy and Resolutions Committee meeting that same weekend.
Representative Kitchens was on the radio with Eddie Allen on Monday.
I heard it.
And
He said we're getting more.
Door County Daily News had a little news article that schools are getting less, that we're getting less, Gibraltar's getting less. Kitchens said he was going to follow up with that reporter because we're actually getting more money through other various venues, but I haven't seen that follow-up article yet, so I'm going to write to him and ask him to explain that.
He also said he was going to visit some of the school boards, so that would be a good question for us to ask him.
Well, I think he's referring to categorical aids.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So that
Yeah.
combined, he feels we're getting more, but
Yeah.
so I'm going to follow up with him to give us, spell that out for us, show
Yeah.
it how it affects
yeah,
us.
categorical but not equalization aid. And as we know, the governor had vetoed that $1,000 minimum that we were anticipating getting. And
That would have been great for us.
yes, it would have. And the
We've gone
governor,
from 19,000 to 560,000.
yeah, the governor chose to distribute that money to every district, which amounted to $3
Yeah,
a
not
student,
even
which
that.
had no impact really, but that's what he chose to do. So that's the problem. But we'll keep pursuing this.
Well, when our state aid drops from 19,000 to 7,600, it doesn't,
It's insignificant.
that insignificant, right, to
Right.
the mill rate, that doesn't change our mill rate
Trying to
at
send
all.
it back.
No, no.
Right.
It's almost more bother than it's worth.
I'll
But,
send a check out that it is.
yeah,
Well, the thing of it is with that kid, with it coming in categorical, it just makes more work for the business office because you gotta do all the grants, you gotta do all the paperwork, you gotta
right.
do everything in just to get, and the little bit extra that you get, sometimes I wonder, is it worth my time for what you're getting? No, I still do it because we need the money and maybe the
Yes.
money we get is good, but it's like, is it worth the amount of time it's taking me and what you're paying me to do it for the amount of money that you get?
If the categorical aid was in state aid, it'd be done, the revenue limit worksheet would be done.
It'd be-
Right, it would be a lot easier to handle.
That's not how,
But
that's not gonna, they're not
Well,
gonna change
on a
that.
serious note, that's easy to answer. Run your hours, how long it takes on a different time. I mean, honestly, right, that's what we do, that's what a business would do. Start tracking, earmarking your days and hours.
Yeah, how much time
And
it
if
took
all
you
of a
to
sudden
do
the
it?
reality is
For
that, bring it to
$7,000.
Kyle, you know? I mean, because there's,
Right.
people say that, and And then there's reality of the numbers, and I'm just saying, if you think you're close, run the number. I do that at work all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I do those trades all the time at work. I run the hours, this is what me or my crew member's gonna do, and this is the value, and I go to the boss and say, it's not a good idea. And they say, huh, I agree with you or I disagree with you, you know,
Right.
so.
Well, however, just as an example, a mental health grant, without that, we would have no services. You know, we aren't going to take part of his time to support mental health services. So, you know, it's what's best for the kids.
Right.
Well, wait, I'm not saying I'm agreeing with it. I think he's gonna end up doing it, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But if we're gonna go out and say to the public that we're spending all this money for these categorical grants, well, validate that. Because I'm with you, I think we're gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get them, and we're gonna have to account for them,
Yeah?
so. Okay, we'll move on then to our old business and policies. I lost my, there I am. We've got the second reading of some policies. No, yeah, we've got a second reading of some policies, so, we'll start with policy 0142.4.
I'll make a motion to approve policy 0142.4.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We then have policy 0165.1.
I move to approve policy 0156.5.1, notice of regular meetings.
Second.
And then the blanks in that, Kyle, do we,
I would say district administrator, under upon the request to, and then the notice should be given to the official newspaper, which one is ours?
That has to be the advocate,
February,
right?
I think, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Still in business, I think.
Yep.
Actually,
Well, I think
No,
we say-
we use
I
the
think
pulse.
you give a choice, don't you?
We're doing the pulse, I think.
Are you putting your notices in the Pulse?
Yeah.
Oh,
Notices going to Pulse? What? Notices going to Pulse?
the Pulse or the Advocate?
The notices for what?
Legal notices for board meetings?
No,
Estonia?
no, they go in, on the website.
we don't
They
have
get
to publish
emails
in
to
the
all the
paper
media.
anymore.
No.
You don't
Oh, we
have to
don't
publish it.
Oh,
But they're not
So-
published. You guys asked me to stop doing that.
I think we do have to publish
6, 7
the
years
annual
ago.
meeting.
The annual meeting gets published,
But not
where,
The annual meeting gets published.
Right,
where'd that go?
Any meeting went to the Pulse, right?
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so,
the notice should be given to the district website, would be how that would be worded?
Yeah, these are regular meetings, so,
Right, I'm saying to reword this instead of official newspaper.
right.
Notice shall be posted.
Yes, posted, because we used to post it even at like the gas station, things like that.
And then,
The news media at their request can get copies.
and payment of a fee? The charging?
no, it's email
No.
usually, so.
No, it's free of charge.
So we won't check that. Okay, then it's, any other questions or discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Policy 0168.1, open meetings.
Move to approve second reading of policy 0168.1, open meeting.
Second.
Which has been switched to meeting minutes.
meeting minutes.
Right.
It's meeting minutes.
And then, do you have recommendation for the check boxes there?
I'd say person designated by the presiding officer, or clerk would be fine too. Endorsed by the clerk?
We usually do clerk and president, because you sign off on them.
Yeah.
So it'd be by the president and the clerk.
But we appoint someone who are we appointing?
These minutes must be approved by the board, endorsed by the president and the
And the
clerk.
clerk.
Yep.
So that's what we do now. Published by school district-wide distribution, prepared and directed by the board, and paid out of school funds. And then And if requested remarks of, I don't think we can provide remarks because
No,
you can't
you
possibly.
can't capture every comment
Can't
that's made.
capture
during the
every,
meeting.
we can't capture every comment that.
You can watch the video, and if the video breaks down technical errors, you don't have it, so I'd say no.
Okay, so any other questions or discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. 2260.
I'll move to approve policy 2260, non-discrimination and access to equal educational opportunities, second reading.
Second.
Blanks, we need to fill in. 2260, I went too far. Are there any blanks we need to fill in there?
Yeah, I got staff and student handbooks, website. We don't have individual schools, so I think it was A and C.
Okay, let's see. Any questions or comments about those selections? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Policy 2260.01.
Move to approve policy 2260.01, section 504/ADA, prohibition against discrimination based on disability, second reading.
Second.
Same checks on A and C for staff and student handbooks and school district website.
Okay, question and discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 2260.02.
I'll move to approve policy 2260.02, English language proficiency.
Second.
I don't think there are any selections we have to make on that one. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion is carried. Policy 2340.
Move to approve policy 2340, district-sponsored trips, second reading.
And Kyle, do you need to check anything?
I think A through E all count
A,
in
B,
this
C,
one.
D, E,
You would
check all of
hope,
them?
you would hope the field trips would.
I'll second that.
You
There
can't
wasn't a
guarantee they're
second on the
going to
motion.
accomplish them, but you hope.
Questions, discussion on those selections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 2411, guidance and counseling.
Move to approve policy 2411, guidance and counseling, second reading.
Second.
Do you want to note any check marks on those, Mr. Lupke?
A through E in the first section, and A through H all those we check.
Questions or discussion?
Is
All
that
in favor
policy,
say
is that policy 2411 you said?
2411.
Okay, because in our, as it reads, it's school counseling and academic career planning is how it's listed in our agenda. It's not our agenda, but the actual,
policy
on the policy
School
itself.
counseling, academic, and career
School
planning.
counseling and academic and career planning, policy 2411.
Okay, we'll make that note with the motion, Carl, that's the policy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Policy 2451, program or curriculum modifications.
Move to approve policy 2451, program or curriculum modifications, second reading.
Second.
Questions or discussion on that one? Different policy. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Policy 3111, creating a position.
3111 and 4111 go together.
Uncertified staff.
Oh, sure,
person,
okay. So 3111 and 4111.
Move to approve policy 3111, creating a position, and 4111, creating a position, second reading.
Second.
And you're checking all
I
the
check A
policies?
through C on the top and A through D on the bottom.
Any questions or discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then policy 3132 and 4132 on vacancies.
Move to approve policies 3132 vacancies and 4132 vacancies, second reading.
Second.
And I guess that's it, so. Well, there are a couple of options.
If you want a position posted internally before it's external, how many days would you want it internally before?
Is five enough? In our district, everybody knows if
Right,
there's a
5 days.
position.
I would think a week, a business week would be,
A business week is enough?
Is that enough?
so. I think so. Because then there's still.
So like, so do you guys like send out a notice to the staff? Or do they literally just, I mean, how do they just know? You said everybody knows.
Well, like the assistant
I know, I'm
building,
just
the
kidding.
assistant
Yeah.
building grounds one, I post one right by the copiers,
Got it.
right in the mail room, so hey, because we want word to get out for that.
No, because
Yeah.
but the reason I ask is you don't want people, someone gets hired and then I heard, oh, I didn't even know they were doing that, and I would have applied.
You know, and we've had coaching vacancies too, it's posted right outside the district office, right there where all the other board meetings are too.
And the front entrance as well. Everything is posted there as well.
Okay,
Very good.
good. Any other questions or discussion on that one?
They still have time too, if it's been internal for 5 days, they can still apply.
Well, that,
for
yeah, of
6
course, yes,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we will move on to the revenue limit. Review the revenue limit worksheet for 1920 and approve the tax levy for 2020. And that's the,
This is what Carl and I went
That's
to.
Whoever makes the motion on this, I put a sheet in front of you, read it verbatim, please, including the amounts.
Yeah, the motion needs to include the sub areas, is what Carl's saying.
I can print it out on my printer otherwise.
On the first page, the yellow box on the top, those are all numbers from last year, so that's where they set your parameters for starting the next year. In the center of the page, you can see the September and summer full-time equivalency membership averages. For example, a 4K student is only valued at 0.6 FTE, and there may be a state law that changes that at some point, we don't know. And so the line 2 shows our 3-year rolling average for 16, 17, 18 is at 565. Line 6 indicates that for 17, 18, 19 it's 556. Line 10B shows a declining enrollment exemption, and we have 9 less in our 3-year rolling average than the year before. We graduated a large senior class last year. So the 9 students multiplied times our revenue limit per member of $10,837.82, so it's a total of $97,540. And then the bottom yellow number, the $1,460,269,036 is the property value of all the property within the Sevastopol School District, all homes, businesses, everything. So that went up. We turn to page 2. We have our 18-19 base revenue, which was $6,024,493. We have our base September membership of $565. There is the base revenue membership for 18-19 of $10,662.82. You can see on line 4A, $175. That was how much each pupil in the state of Wisconsin went up in value as far as educating. So that brings your new total to $10,837.82. You multiply that time your current membership of $556 for $6,025,828, and you compare line 7 to line 1. The larger of the two drops down to line 9. We have no carryover transfer of service, we have no territory transfer, recurring referendum. That would be if you had a referendum that went on forever and you'd only put that number in your first year, because after that becomes part of your base. Line 10 is a summation of 10A through H. 10A is our non-recurring referenda to exceed the revenue limit by 2 million. Last year that number was 1.5 million. Next year it'll also be 2 million, and then it'll come off the books in that area. There's where they record the 10B is the declining enrollment exemption for 97,540. That's so if you're decreasing in enrollment, it lets you down gently rather than dropping it quickly. Energy efficiency net exemption is 112,849. That's the cost of the energy efficient project minus the savings that they figured we did by doing the project. And you'll see down on line 14B, 131,945, that's how much the project cost. But they're saying you save so much in energy between 131,945 and 112,849. Since you save that in energy, you can't gain that amount because you gained it in not paying energy bill as much. So that's okay. Adjusted, line 9D, adjusted for refunded or not refunded taxes. 10E, prior year open enrollment, uncounted pupils. We had 2 students that were open enrolled that weren't counted, so we get to count them this year, $13,012. Open enrolled students, it depends how many days are actually in your school divided out by the rate of what a student for the whole amount is. So we pick those up. Brings you down to line 11, which is 8,249,229. Line 12 is interesting because it has your state aid of $7,610, which I already discussed earlier and dropped from $19,000. We receive on line 12C the exempt computer aid of $2,260, and that's based off of the number you had a couple years ago, and that's going to wean off in the future. And then there's the state aid for personal property. I don't know where they pull that. That's the Department of Revenue pulls that number, but it's personal property that lives it's within the district, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it's worth $25,433.
Well, that's what they reduced personal property, right?
Right.
They're no longer, they're putting it in because certain things have come off the personal property roll. They're trying to phase it out.
Like the computer aid. Okay, so that's a way of gently letting it down is what you're saying. Same thing. So you add
well, they're filling in the back what we aren't getting.
Will that number be there forever then? At least for this budget cycle? Okay. Okay.
We'll see.
And in our overall budget, it doesn't matter too much because it's 35,303 with those 3 numbers combined, and that takes us down to 8,213,926, of which general operations is 8,081,981. You have the energy efficiency for 131,945 because you can't count it twice. And then we do have line 15A is the referendum approved debt. So that's the 1,969,067. That would be for the principal and interest payments for the first $20 million of the building project. We have 20,000 in Fund 80. We've always had 20,000 in there. We need to look at that a little tighter and how we're spending it. We could spend it a little, we're very frugal in how we spend it, and we could spend a little more out of that area.
And we could increase that amount.
Yeah, but yes, you can now. It was froze for a while. School district abused it and put everything under the sun under it, and they went up 5-10 times what they had like a prior year, and then the state had to get a hold of it, so they said, all right, we're freezing everybody where you are at that time, but the guys who
we're frugal.
People that are frugal got injured by it because you were frugal. Well, whatever we're spending it on, those costs go up every year, but we're not when we're frozen because some guys were pretty liberal in their interpretation of what you could do with it. I don't know.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this community programs, the community service, is that where the funding for community programs is?
Yeah. And then we have one.
More opportunity, it sounds like.
It does. I picked up on that.
I said we have to look at how we spend it wisely, is what I said. This is exciting. Oh, I spent a whole day on this. It was so exciting. And then the line 15C is the prior year levy chargeback for uncollected taxes. We received money from the municipality. The municipality didn't collect some taxes for $1,079, so then they made us send out $1,079 back to them last year, so now this year we get to claim it. Brings our total estimate of all funds, and it is an estimate even today, Carl, recheck DPI's website because these numbers are still ever changing. They're live numbers. And so our total is $10,204,072, which the levy rate would be $6.98, $6.99 to round up from the 7 there in the end. And last year our mill rate was $6. So we said that throughout the referendum process that the mill rate for the building project would go up $1.20, and the non-recurring operating cost referendum from 1.5 million to 2 million would increase another 33 cents. And with the property value and the rates that Baird was able to lock us in when we did the bands last year, we're able to have a mill rate of under $7, so it's a less than $1 increase.
And we're paying more principal than what we are required.
Right, because we're going to work on knocking that down so we're not getting so much interest over the next 20 years. So.
That's good. I mean, that's good to echo that our mill rate, year one of this process was met expectations by a lot.
Right, and that was the whole process where we said, okay, we're going to knock on property values increasing and we're going to go at higher interest rates because we didn't want to oversell the public on what we're going to end up doing, what the impact would be on them. So they should be pleased where it is.
Because looking at this going forward, I mean, our property value went up pretty significantly.
That helped a lot.
Right, but it could also go down in years to come.
Or stay flat.
Or stay
That's what I'm taking 1 year at a time.
Well, and by paying off more principal now means you're going to reduce your interest amount going forward, so we may be able to have more leverage to play with it to keep the mill rate at that range going forward.
I see your point.
You know?
Well, and if you go back to here, you gotta have good eyes, but you gotta look, if you look at the 2021 and 21-22 years, for the phase 1, that's all interest, there's no principal in those years. So you're not gaining any ground on the principal in those first, 4 financial years where you're not gaining any principal ground. So what Carl's saying is we want to gain some ground on that principal to knock all those numbers lower, because we can stay ahead of the game.
Okay, any questions on the revenue limit worksheet?
Well, the other part we should look at is on page 3, right in the middle, it says you have levied than a maximum. That's a good thing, because if you can't over levy, obviously, that's illegal. But you don't want to levy below, because then you can never recapture some of those dollars. So we're on track.
Any other explanation from you, Mr. Wiki?
No, I think that's all I got.
If there are no questions, would someone like to make the motion as written for Carl? Jake?
I'll move the motion to approve the 2019-2020 revenue limit of $10,204,072 with $8,081,981 in the general fund, Fund 10, $131,945 in the debt service fund, Fund 38, $20,000 in the community fund, Fund 80, $1,969,067 in the referendum approved debt service fund, Fund 39, and $1,079 for tax chargebacks.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Then we move on to adopt the final budget for 2019-2020. Mr. Lickey has
Another more papers, yeah.
another page coming at us.
sure. The first page is your revenue. If you go to the second page, where it's 10 general fund, you see the budget amount of 10 million, about a third of the way down, where 10 fund 10 indents into your page.
Third of the way down, third from the bottom.
Flip your page,
Otherwise,
flip your staple over.
Like
Yeah,
a
no,
staple
no,
wrong?
the whole packet, you're on the, go to page 1.
Oh, I got it.
You're stapled in the wrong corner, okay.
Got it, okay.
I was playing with the copier today, so. I know
So
exactly.
training for copier, no.
Gene was showing me. today.
Training for people. Staple goes in the lower left corner.
I figured out that the copy machine does staples if you have 3 papers and you shove them in the slot.
Yeah.
I was all, yeah, anyways.
Okay, good.
Someone carried the stapler out of it. So on the second page, general fund,
Got it.
the revenue we're expecting for this year is $10,093,231. And we think, and we were conservative on the open enrollment amount, which is back on the first page, about halfway down, 785,000, because, like I said, the open enrolled kids are here, but if they would leave tomorrow, then you're prorated for the school year, so you don't get, so you might not get all of those gains. You know, if a kid all of a sudden decides I'm going back to my resident school or moves and they're open enrolled kids, you don't receive those funds. So we're a little conservative in that area on that. There are some aids we get for the special education only, Fund 27, which is $1.4 million. And you have your Fund 38, the unfunded liability, which is the energy efficiency for $131,945. And then we have referendum approved debt service, $7,069,067. Carl, you want to, okay.
Well, Fund
Yeah,
39 is, Fund 39 and Fund 49 gotta go together, okay? Fund 39 is what you're going to receive if we do bands, the money from the bands will go into Fund 49. Okay? Then you pay out of that and you get money to go in and then you have to pay out the bands and that goes into Fund 39 to pay off the bands. Okay? We have them in both 39 and 49 because we're not sure which direction we're going to go. If we don't do bands, then we won't have, no, it's still going to go into Fund 49.
You'll still go in Fund 49 by the end.
Right.
Right.
But if we do bands, then we're going to end up having money going into both because you do bands and you sell the bonds to pay off the bands. And so
then you have to have both, but we may or may not, depends which way we go. So it's showing that we are going the band route, but we're not, we won't know till January when we vote on that.
right.
But we wanted to show it in the budget in case it does happen, so you know where it's at. What else?
So right now it's in both.
It's in both Fund 39
It's in both
and
in Fund.
49.
It'll end up in 49 in the end.
Right.
The bans only occur if you do bans, and bans you have for, it's a short-term note. And so you have it, you pay it off, and then you transfer it down. So it's gonna end up in 49 for sure. It may not end up in the other one.
Right.
You guys will decide in January, when Mike Clark's here, and we decide which route to go. Right now, I don't, if Carl and I were in agreement that we wouldn't do it that way. But we're showing it in case we do. Then food service is Fund 50, and then there's that Fund 80 at the bottom for 20,000. So that, we don't talk about that with Melissa anymore.
It actually says 18,000.
What do you mean 18,000?
Wasn't it supposed to be 20,000?
This is 20,000.
It is 20,000.
It's
Community service
20,000.
18.
No, you're
Oh, she
looking,
got a different one.
you're
I got a
looking,
different one.
you're looking at expenses, I think.
We spent it already?
We've already spent no, we did not spend it yet.
Where's your staple at?
Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of
Then you
hard
go
to
on.
tell.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right, though. So that.
And if you go to the expenses, the most important number is on page 2 of expenses, the general fund, $10,339,702.18. The difference between revenue in Fund 10 and the expenditures in Fund 10 is a negative $246,471. So that's where we're projected to be at this year. But when we build the budget, we build expenses, we estimate high. Revenue, we estimate low, so that we come in okay. But that's a general where we're at.
Now, obviously, what you just passed in the revenue limit, those numbers do not change.
Right.
But what changes is what you get in your grants, your admissions, things like that, is where, you estimate, but especially your grants and stuff like that, depending upon how much you spend, how much you can claim and get back.
So what I'm seeing that, right, so just by numbers here, then that would mean that balance would come, that difference would come out of the fund, our.
Fund 10 is a general fund.
Because fund,
Well, I mean, if our revenue was less than our fund balance, our,
Expenses?
yeah.
Right, so it decreased by
Yeah,
$239,000,
just for-
or $246,000.
And these are all estimates and things like that.
because Fund 27 and Fund 50 have to have a zero balance.
And we do have 2 transfers from Fund 10 to each of those accounts to make sure they come out that way. Last year, the Fund 27 transfer was $905,000. This year, we estimated $960,000, so we put a little bit more in there. The Fund 50 last year was under $75,000, but we put transferring $94,821, so we just want to make sure we're safe in those areas.
Yep.
And our fund balance is in good shape.
Yep.
Let's see if I got some papers. Next month, I'll give you a fund balance update from recent years. I was
When we
working on it today.
make the motion for this adoption, Carl, you want it as presented, or is there a number you want attached to it?
As presented is fine.
As presented?
Yeah.
Any other questions about this budget document that was presented?
A question, Carol, related to the expenses under health. I see that we have exceeded that budgeted amount. What is health? What is that? It's 214, it's on page 1, under the expense summary, 214000, health, it's right above occupational therapy. 3/4 of the way down. What is health?
I'm not with it yet. Health.
Here's that over to that number, what's the category?
27,000 to 26%.
Is the adjusted budget expended 50,000?
That goes in all these descriptions of the accounts and what they use.
You mean you're talking 214000 health?
Yeah.
What is that?
Health would be the education of that'd be the portion of the salary of our teachers that teach health. Why is it negative?
That's my question.
Is that right, Carl?
214 is not for health
No, it's
teachers.
service. Is it services?
Is it school nurse?
Mm-mm.
No, it's
No.
not curriculum. I think it's a school nurse.
It's overspent by 10,000.
That's my concern.
It can't be on the correct, it can't be the teacher then.
No, it's not the teacher, because she'd be up in the instructional portion. That's wrong.
It's gotta be the school nurse because right underneath you got occupational therapy and physical therapy.
Is that also stride? I think it might have something to do with stride.
I
Yes, Jean's
Yes,
shaking her head, yes,
because then we
it's
will
strike,
get money
okay.
back from that.
Did we talk about that this morning or yesterday?
Yesterday we did.
Okay,
Thank you, Gene.
yes, it's because of stride, we paid a bill in July, and then we had the next bill for this year. That is.
But I have to do claims to get the money back.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
No, that's a good cut, no.
Cool.
Yeah, it was just yesterday morning, okay.
So you're talking about the mental health grant?
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah.
So the one,
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to adopt this document as presented?
I move to approve the budget for 2019-20 as presented.
Second.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then move on to early college credit program requests.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have 22 students represented here. Some have multiple courses. As we've discussed before, this is one of those unfunded state mandates that we have to account for. And one of the things that we have to verify, though, is that we don't have the same or similar curriculum offered here at our school. I just want to point out a couple: basic anatomy, intro to psychology. If students are taking this course, they've already taken our school course. So this is the next step. So there are no duplications here. Any questions?
It's rare, I'm just impressed with how many people are interested in sign language. I just have to say that, I think that's exciting.
It's great.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the early college credit program request as presented.
Second?
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we move back to some policies. These are first readings of the policies, and we are on policy 5111.
Move to approve policy 5111, eligibility of resident, non-resident students.
Second.
First reading.
Second.
And I lost my place. Do we have anything? We have
There's things you
selections
can, well,
on there.
tonight we would discuss it, and you can make a recommendation, but next time you approve it. So on page 2, we have a couple of choices. Under the first paragraph, the district administrator may choose whether to enroll the student in the event that its district administrator intends to enroll a student during the term of an expulsion order issued by another public school. The enrollment must be approved by the board. All requests to enroll received by students that have been expelled from their school must be brought before the board to approve. So which, you can pick what you want.
So do they have to, do they have to come before the board, or is it at the discretion of the administrators? Those are the basic choices.
Right.
I think when we talked with Bob, we talked about you approving them and then bringing it to the board.
Yes, it'd be option. It's a second option.
Second option. Okay.
But it's what you guys are comfortable with.
I'll move that.
I'm
That's a
okay.
good thing.
It's currently added to your description.
So we have, is there a motion? A second. Any other questions or discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 5112, pension page.
Move to approve policy 5112, entrance age, first reading.
Second?
Were there any notable recommendations?
Right now,
That would
we,
be-
for kindergarten, we have them in 4-year-old kindergarten when they turn 4. And that, we often have a parent who has a kid who's 3 with August 30th birthday or whatever, and they want to get them in. We got to have a line and draw it. There is legislative talk of allowing a student the day they turn 4 to have them enrolled that day. I told Representative Kitchens that that was kind of crazy for a school because you get a new kid every week. Imagine a big district who every week could get a new 4K-er who's now trying to figure out the routines of, I think you just wait till September 1 and call it. Well, that that's what they were discussing, yeah.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah. I said even if you did it in January, right, you know, once a year, but I still like, well, I like there twice a year, I guess that would be, but I'd like it just in the September 1, that's it.
If there's nothing else on that one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Which one are we on?
5113.
5113, open enrollment.
I'll move to approve policy 5113, open enrollment program, first reading.
Second.
Any choices you want to make on the
They're all-
It's pretty standard.
So all those
Each one.
definitions, we have to check all those?
There's only one choice for each letter, so it's what it is.
That's what I was confused on.
There's no other questions or discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 53 is student accidents and illness, concussion.
I'll make a motion to approve policy 5340, student accidents, illness, and concussion.
Second.
We have a pretty good form right now for accident reports. Depends on the time of year how many come through, but I think we get at least one a week. Our FIED and our resource supervisors do a really good job of covering those.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 5460, graduation requirements.
Move to approve policy 5460, graduation requirements, first reading.
Second.
And Mr. Perry, on the electives, they earn.
Yeah, we actually have a business life skills class that is 25 credit, and I think electives is 9.5, total of 25.
So is your business elective, it's not an elective then, it's a requirement.
It's a requirement, yeah, it's personal finance, careers. Is that equal 25?
That's 25.
That's right.
Do this portfolio credits, do we allow that?
We don't do
We
portfolio.
don't do that. Any questions or discussions on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 5830, student fundraising.
I'll move to approve policy 5830, student fundraising, first reading.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I noticed there's a section in here in regards to crowdfunding. We had covered that in a previous policy though as well.
Yeah, so we do not permit it. Or this is what the other policy says.
Okay.
The first one was by district administrator.
Yeah, because you don't want to come to you all the time, do you?
No, we just said, just confirm.
Yeah, I'll take it, yeah.
Every meeting.
You don't want it.
Oh, by the way, you eat at Culver's on Tuesdays.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 6152, student fines and fees and charges.
Move to approve policy 6152, student fees, fines, and charges, first reading.
Second.
Questions or discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Payment of invoices, 6470.
Move to approve. You're going to do that?
Okay, move to approve the first reading of Policy 6470, payment of invoices.
Second.
Is that the district administrator?
Should be district
verifies the-
office.
District office. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Payroll authorization is 6510.
Move to approve policy 6510, payroll authorization, first reading.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then 6610, student activity fund.
Move to approve policy 6610, student activity fund, first reading.
Second.
Like Carl talked about
I was just
the
gonna say, wait.
GASB.
So there are new government accounting standards boards laws that are out in regards to Fund 60 student activity funds. And basically what it says is if any adult is involved in the decision on how the money is spent, it is not a true Fund 60. That's pretty much all of them. And we also have other activities, funds and activity funds that are adult only. What we're looking at, almost guaranteed what we have to do is move them all over to Fund 21, which is fiduciary funds. Meaning the money that you have in it can only be used for that project, which is basically what you have for Fund 60, but it's not just student governed funds.
I can't imagine a situation where we let a group of students just decide what to do with the funds without an advice.
Well, right.
So it's-
Now, for like a class fund, they vote on it, but it is still
They have advice.
guided
That's
by
right.
the
They
adult, so
can't.
it's not a total. So if you move them all to Fund 21 fiduciary, whatever that money is for is the only thing they can be used for. Well, that's what Fund 60 is doing right now anyhow. Class of 2020 raises money, only they can use it. PTO, only they can use their funds, and it's broken down. Jean does a great job, and it's all broken down in how it's, and she has it, each one has so much amount. Fund 21 is gonna do it, you just get away from not having, or just being student run only. So then that would, otherwise we would have to eliminate a whole bunch of funds and figure out how we're gonna do it. And talking to other districts and getting correspondence and that's pretty much what everybody is doing, is moving everything to Fund 21. I just gotta figure out how to set it up in the system.
Okay, further questions or comments on that?
No, like, so there's no long-term effect of that money that in a different fund, it's an accounting thing. So like if we get a class of, 19, 20, that they have money left, we can still transfer that out of that fund.
That is how what they would like to do, or that is their choice of what they're doing with that money. There's no
We recently just had some money, I thought that.
It'll go from 21 to 10 if the class doesn't decide what to do.
Okay,
Or it
so
has
it
a-
doesn't, just an account, more work for you, but no.
Well, and it's, the initial setup will be, because I gotta make sure that all of the back accounts and everything like that are set up properly, but it's a matter of, getting it straight, because I talked to the auditors in August, and I asked them about it, and they said, yeah, pretty much, that's what everybody's 21, and it needs to be done before the next audit, or by the end of the fiscal year.
So we need to check the right boxes here.
You can bring those back to us next time.
All right, Carl, that
Well, and Carl, so you'll, to Sue's point, you'll fill out the right boxes here and stuff? or
So
that-
they'll bring it back for us when it comes to the second
I
reading.
can
they'll
say
have the boxes
66
for us.
times, and I gotta go over it.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
They'll figure out the boxes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then we have the memorandum of understanding for the Anape Regional Youth Apprenticeship Consortium.
I would move to approve the Anape Regional Youth Apprenticeship Consortium. I think this is a great opportunity for our kids.
Is there a second to
I'll
that?
second that.
Did you have a, looked like you had a comment you wanted to make.
Got it, let's go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to speak last time I was at a Trees for Tomorrow field trip, and this is a wonderful opportunity. It goes a long way to extend our classroom to our community and real job opportunities that we've been told are potentially benefit eligible. They're very great things. I know some of our local businesses have already been trying to fill positions. They've posted positions with schools, and so I'm excited to be able to take part in that. It also goes, it's part of our action, kind of a preview of our action plan. That's one of our primary goals, is a program like this. So we're going to jumpstart on that. Your approval tonight will allow us to move forward.
And how we're going to implement it is we're going to have this for second semester this year. We also currently have students on work release. Next year, we won't have work release then because they don't get credits for that, and we line up the jobs with where they can find one. We're going to funnel them through Youth Apprentice so they get credits, and it's more accountability with well, you guys heard the presentation last month, so we're going to bring it in. We'll have both for spring semester, and then next year there won't be work release. It'll just be this, and this will be
They'll be getting certification.
much more structured.
They'll be getting college credits. They'll have jobs that they could come back to or start right out of high school. And it's well funded as well. There's a long tradition of funding youth apprenticeship programs like this, and we've got a good structure. And I think also the person we're working with, Jennifer, is amazing, and she will help us grow that program here. I heard they're up to like 140 students between 3 districts. Kewanee, Luxembourg, Casco, and Southern Door are in right now.
Yeah, this is a good, solid program.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on that memorandum? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
The board development tool, we get this every year and we usually complete it, I think we try to complete it for January. I haven't seen it come in the mail yet. We usually get a packet with little codes you can sign in. I haven't seen it come. I'll follow up to see when it's coming, but I presume the board would like to do it again this year? Take the survey? It's an action item, so do you want to make a motion?
Isn't the code, was in our attachment? Is that the code right there, the second page?
I think you get one each specific though. To your
No,
Yeah, each get one.
And I wouldn't get that.
So this is not the code then?
No,
This is not it.
this
That's
is
what I
just,
thought.
this is what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys should
We
get
should
your own.
get it
Just
on,
an
we get it on.
example.
Yeah.
But it says new for 2019-20, each school district has been assigned one code for participants
Oh, so
to
this
use
is our
and
code.
one code for the district to access its aggregate
That's what it
results.
says right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know,
Well,
I
thank
was-
you for reading it, Karen.
I was like, wait, no, I read this through
Because I
actually.
thought this was the one.
Okay, so then if this is our code, what is our goal to have this done so that we can discuss it in a future meeting?
Well, I think it says deadline to use the code is June 30th.
June 30th.
So I think it's a different than what we've done in the past, how this works, so.
Because we go back to the superintendent review evaluation in about January. Do we want to wrap this up before that or do this after that?
I think if they put a June 30 on it, I think it's so you can review your year a little bit.
Okay, so we'll put it on we'll put a tickler out there to put it back on maybe in April.
So we gotta keep this till April.
You have homework.
I mean,
Do it
don't
right
lose
the
it.
next day.
I'll paste it in my calendar.
Yeah.
I'll paste it in my calendar. Then item G is the further study of the board staff, further board study of the staff survey.
I gave you a sheet of the staff survey with the 17 different areas. The admin team is starting to go through them. Areas 1, 11, 13, and 15, the admin team's not going to review. And then sometimes we have our building and grounds and Title I teacher and head cook join us on the admin team, but like student achievement number 4, that's for the 4 of us to go over. So I'm just giving you a guideline of what we're doing with it. So far we've gone over 4 areas, I think, and we've gleaned a little bit, but we haven't really, no big surprises or anything yet, but we're gonna keep plugging through ours. So I don't know what you guys, what depth do you wanna go in and look at these, or as a group, I don't know, it's up to you guys.
So the question is, are there specific areas that we want to look at, or do we want to focus on item 15, our section of the survey?
I'd be
Maybe these
interested.
are all satisfaction 17.
I'd be interested in all of it. If we are going to take the time to have people survey this, I think we need to look carefully at the results.
And I do think, and I think that Mr. Lukey can come back with a report
Yeah.
on items 1 through 14 and 16, so we'd have their report on their study. Does the school board want to look in depth at this number 15? Because the admin team is not. That would be our
Well, I think
responsibility.
we would on 15, and forgive me if I dropped this, we were sent, we have access to all the data.
Right, right.
And it's in an email, right, that's all.
Right.
It's
Yes.
in-
Right, you guys have the access to all 17 sections right now.
Yep.
So do you want to take a look at item 15, specifically the school board? Item.
I think
In
all,
depth.
but I think all of them do for
Yeah,
interest,
yeah.
I might do, but collectively 15 for sure.
Collectively. So I think we do, okay, so we should schedule a time, a meeting that we look at item 15 ourselves. And then when they are done looking at all of the other items, they'll bring a report back to us.
Yeah.
So what's your pleasure on item 15?
Well, weren't we talking about doing a board retreat kind of gathering? Would that be a time to work on that aspect? Like a separate non-board meeting? What we talked about doing something like that in the fall, or?
We didn't do it we usually do it in the summer. We didn't do it this year.
Usually summer.
You have the survey now, if you,
It's good after
it's gonna have to be a separate meeting probably, it's too in-depth to do sitting here.
Are you talking a separate meeting to look at everything?
Well, if you
or just
if
the-
you had a board retreat to look at the survey, if that's what your focus was, it'd have to be a separate meeting, yes. Because you can't, you guys have been paging through it, and it's
Thoughts?
in-depth.
Well, maybe what we do is we have everyone review it soon, and then we have a discussion on the length of the meeting we need. If it's a 7-hour meeting or if it's a half an hour meeting.
7 hours.
I'd like to give big examples. Come on.
Yeah, really. That's
Well,
a big
I think
one.
we've got 2 different things. We've got the 7-hour meeting, you'll hear to look at everything and hear what they've looked at. And then we've got our section of 6 or 8 questions to look at, which is probably a 30-minute discussion.
I just say, I would just suggest we extend our board meeting sometime for
Yeah.
an extra
Yeah.
hour or half
Yeah.
hour
Yep, that's,
to just give it some credence and review it again.
some of these
and
things we
see
just
if
gotta
we
force
wanna-
people to get to, everyone's busy. Just say-
So do you want to do that in November,
Sure.
December, January, November?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do
Might
that
as
in
well.
November.
Since waiting,
Yeah.
I'll just keep putting it off until you tell me.
Okay, we will
So
put that
for
on.
November, the board's gonna look specifically at 15.
Correct.
Okay, we won't get through,
You
we've
won't
gone
get
through
ready.
4, we won't get through the other 13 by November.
No,
And I don't think we're looking for a
I'm
set.
just telling you,
What are
we're
you
not.
doing around here?
no, we're just gonna look at 15.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, I just, okay, but at least it did say a report on the others from us, and I thought, okay,
Get our portion done.
okay.
And I think this is like that strategic thing, is it should be rolled into what you're doing, so you're slowly chipping away. And then as we get new surveys, so maybe we do something like that, it's gonna be trending stuff, you see, not, most likely not a lightning bolt, something, holy cow, we got, that's their theory, I guess.
Okay. Meet and confer parameters
Well-
are,
Lisa, Okay, so for item F, the WASBO, there was no action taken on that?
There's no action.
All right, now no action taken, or was that the action you're taking as far as discussing it at the November meeting?
When is the November meeting, by the way? Do we have that?
21st.
We're not taking any action, we're putting it back on the agenda.
Okay,
But you're telling the board to look at it before then, right?
Yeah.
so it's
So it's
no
kind of
action
action.
on both?
Sure,
Okay.
actually, look at it before then.
Okay, meet and confer parameters are on here because, as Dave pointed out before, meet and confer can be a great tool. It gets the staff in front of the board and the board in front of the staff. Recently, we started to say we're really gonna stick with our policies, and we made some decisions on policies that we're not gonna bend on those anymore. And we did set some parameters in place for meet and confer when we agreed to it. A couple of those were, if a staff member has something, they should go through the chain of command first. They should go to their supervisor principal. If they need to go further, it comes to Mr. Lutke. There are concern forms that should need to be filled out and signed, and I just think that for us to honor our parameters and honor the chain of command, that's the way it should go. If a group of staff is looking for, I'm going to use the staff development time. If the staff wants more time in the in-service days to work on their SLOs or their PPOs, they should first talk to the people that are doing the in-service days, which is probably the administrative team, and say, you guys, and Melissa, we would like more time. What can you do about that? And it may be able to be resolved right at that table. And then, if there are concerns, they should come to Mr. Lukey on the concern form and signed by the person, so that he can talk to that person. He had a good example last time. Someone had a question about something in the handbook. She signed the form, he was able to talk to her and resolve it. So I guess my suggestion is that we continue with the meet and confer because it's valuable, but that we honor the parameters that we set and ask the staff to present their requests in that order, honoring the chain of command, honoring the way the things are presented.
And it's difficult since the board committee, it has a posted agenda. It's hard to post the agenda unless you know what the concerns are to list the topics here and discuss. It just can't be meet and confer and then open up the floor to anything and everything, because that doesn't do the justice of posting a meeting if it's open to any topic.
Did some get added or something, or what?
I got an email requesting a list, and I was like, well, you didn't fill out staff concern, but we never said you had to fill out staff concern, so it's a board-driven committee, so how do the parameters get put in place for that?
When I needed a reminder, so part of this discussion is helping me, because I kind of maybe forgot the parameters, and because I'm a little more open discussion, but I agree with that now, and I will be more cognizant of this particular parameter set. The benefit of doing that, and so I'm smarter now, is to make a healthy chain of command, it needs to be exercised on a regular basis, right? That's how you get better communication. So I think that the articulation to the staff is, we're not trying to limit the discussion. We're just saying, if you have a legitimate gripe, talk to the boss, talk to your people, because that, the boss might be able to elevate early and often is what I was trained on. And I think if you bring up most of the time, you guys can handle it. But we're always interested to get involved. So I stand by my earlier comments, but I know for me personally, I asked Kyle, I forgot what the rules are, can we just bring stuff in or not? Or anybody. So for me personally, I needed the clarification, and I appreciate that. If that makes sense.
We're looking at doing this quarterly, correct?
Quarterly.
So with that being said, there's enough time to go through the process of chain of command, the letter, those things, and then a agenda can be prepared based off of what could it be resolved in those other areas, correct?
So the first step is to have us as their supervisor, boss or whatever, discuss the issue. If it can't be resolved, then do they fill out the form and give it to Mr. Lidkey?
Right, I received one this fall.
Yeah.
And it was 2 days before the meeting. Well, now it's a little late to get on the agenda, and it was a handbook issue, so I didn't involve the admin team because they didn't need to get involved. I talked to the staff member and said, yeah, I understand where the language is unclear to someone reading it, and said, okay. And, all right, well, I brought it up at the meet and confer, and that was it. So it's good that the board heard, yeah, the problem got taken care of, but how do you know what's coming on the meet and confer meeting? And am I gonna take every email from every staff member and put it in an agenda item and have a laundry list every time or not? I don't know, so it's your committee, so how do you want it run?
Well, do we have these guidelines written up?
I think we had I would have to look back. I think we have guidelines that we wrote up and we approved them. So
Maybe we just need to
It should be a
redistribute
memo
those.
from Mr. Lutfi, the board, or
Yeah.
a memo from the board, just a
reminder.
reminder, the guidelines
Yep.
for meet and confer.
Well, because that staff concern sheet came from the seminar that Sue and I attended in January with Dr. Muhammad.
Right.
That was something I gleaned from that day. It's, well, this
So
is
put that in with
pretty
the
good.
reminder email, here's the form to use, and
And
I don't think it hurts to do a
more
reminder.
to your question, and this is more of a discussion than maybe a statement, is, so I think there's probably different hats and different issues, right? So if it's special education related, they would specifically
They would
talk to
talk
you.
to me.
If it's
Right.
handbook related, maybe the principal. If it's something specific in a policy, maybe right to the superintendent. But I think this is where we have smart staff and smart people, and basically, I think what I'm trying to communicate is we want open communication, but, try to seek resolution at the lowest level. And then it might be a budget issue, Aaron might want to hire 3 more staff members, but he might not have authority to do that. So he might say, that's a good idea. We clearly have the kids in the demand, so we're going to raise it up, and, more formality comes with it. I mean, is that kind of what?
Yeah, we've had 2 meet and confers, and we're just going through a growth here where we got to say, okay, well, how are we getting it? And yeah, to me, if they fill out a staff concern, and then the admin can look at it, and I can get the right person or the group if we need to be. And then, okay, if they're not satisfied with that, then they can go to the meet and confer meeting, or it should at least be, oh yeah, this one came up, and here it is, and, because then you guys know what's going on.
Timelines, I think, so people can get the issue in a certain timely manner so that you can get the
Posted.
agenda together.
And I think the
Right.
guidelines have a timeline
Yeah.
in them into which they would need to be presented.
And I think it was a good idea, mentioned earlier about different representation each meeting, so all different voices are heard through the staff, just like we're trying to have different voices from the board as the participants, we can be observers, but I think those representing, I think that's a good idea too.
Because just for discussion, too long sometimes, is what I'm thinking here, the recognition is, first, initially, my personality is that, bring it all to the table right now, let's talk about it. But I recognize that, staff, leadership shouldn't be surprised, give you an opportunity to handle it, because it might be really not a big deal. Again, we got this, a clarification, or if someone takes advantage of that in a negative way to start to slam the bosses and say no one's doing anything, so I think that's what we're processing through is, I think it's fair to cycle it through, whatever the right channel is, to say, hey, I don't like how the grass is mowed, and talk to Rock or something, and then it could go from there, so.
Well, why don't we take another look at the guidelines and see if they're still what we want, and if there are timelines there, fine, and if not.
Well, and I guess I want to echo what Melissa said. I want to make sure that our staff understand the process.
Right.
That's what I was
Right.
just. It's very concerning to, and I know we're brand new at this, and we've had a couple of them under our belt. It would be interesting to hear from staff if they
Because
feel like.
there's some staff that feel like they have to bring the concern to whoever the representative is that goes to the meet and confer. So it's either, who does it go to? Does it go to us, or does it
The
go
concern should come to me, and then I get it to the right person if it's one of you,
Yeah,
right?
so I
And-
think that there's a disconnect on how the process works, and I also think that it's because it's so new,
So here's what I would I'll say 2 things. in a well-run organization, you don't need a damn policy on meet and confer. Right? People are sharing concerns, we're solving problems, and we're doing great things, right? So, but, you know, we're a school, we document everything, so we got this policy. I'm good at what, I'm not the school board, we can review this darn thing all day long, and this policy looks good to me. On this particular one, I really think the admin team, talk to your staff, how should it work? We're pretty flexible, so if it wants to, tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, okay, I'll tell you where you're wrong on that. It's a board committee, and it's for the staff. So now you just said, well, administrators, you get it to relay between the two. Well, we don't govern you, and so how can we tell you how your committee should work with the staff?
Okay, so
You know what I
here's
mean?
what
We're in the middle. We're in the middle on this one.
Here's,
Right.
let me exercise what I was
Yeah.
saying then. So to me, as a board member, I want to hear it. I don't need anything approved. Come into the meeting. You want to piss more about something? I'll listen to you. I will give you my honest opinion. I have no authority in that meeting, and we'll talk. But out of respect for the admin team, maybe you don't want to be surprised. I'm good with it. Bring it in. That was actually our
So
discussion.
do you want me to just post the agenda as staff concerns?
Well,
And the other part we need is with this meet and confer, so things don't get old. If we're gonna do it quarterly, then it should be every 90 days, right?
right.
You know, so then we could, and then the folks would know, okay,
It's coming up at a certain.
but then there's
time.
some things we hear about, every day we're problem solving. I mean, I don't know how many times we go see each other and say, hey, you got this, got that. I mean, I sent Adam to go see a teacher today about a form I had that I wanted done, and he got it, and then he came and saw me about a student, and Mr. Hiltz brought me a schedule today. I don't know, we're always doing that. So I don't know.
You
Yeah.
can't have a loosey-goosey agenda and meet the open meeting laws.
Right, exactly. So that's why I'm saying, how do you want to frame this? Right. And if I say staff concerns, and someone sees that posted, they go, well, what are the staff
Right,
concerns,
right.
right? That's pretty general. And when I posted it, we didn't have any staff concerns. I got one on that Monday, but I left it open because when's the deadline to get it in?
Yeah.
See, I don't see a problem with that, Kyle. I don't see a problem with that, as long as the staff know that if they have concerns and they try to triage it within the ranks and they want to bring it to meet and confer, they give it to you to put on the agenda so that you have an agenda that you can post and the staff all know then what the issue is. If they want to come and participate, they can. I don't see a problem with that.
When I tried to make it open to everyone, but that's not how the teaching staff, the teaching staff send I'm representing elementary, I'm representing middle school, I'm representing high school, and we don't want representation. We want representation for everybody, but we didn't.
Where did that come from? Here's the
Yeah, I
school
don't
board
know.
didn't say that.
Remember,
You
everyone wants to come.
we never said send representatives.
But that's what we had last week,
Very
correct?
clearly, they even said, I'm representing these people. So I'm doing my part.
And that was tough for me to swallow, because if people have concerns, rather than going through someone who sends me an email as their representative, that was hard for me, because that felt like negotiations then. That didn't feel like open communications. And my real problem with it is teachers always say to their class, if you have any questions, ask. Come ask me. Well, we heard in that meeting, well, some people don't want to come forward and talk. Well, doggone it, you asked that quiet 12-year-old boy to talk in your classroom. You're an adult professional. Come talk to us. I mean, I try and have open door policies. These three people have open door policies. Maybe we're unapproachable. I don't know. I mean, I do go on tangents once in a while. I get a little excited, but.
The purpose of meet and confer is to give our staff voice, so I agree with you.
So when I saw three representatives, I was like, ooh, you know. Now the support staff said it had 3 custodians there. That told me that wasn't representation from a cook, a custodian, a bus driver,
What is that?
aide, a special ed aide. They just came.
The old way of doing
Everyone has
meet
been in
and confer.
education through their career. That's how the unions,
Union.
everything was run that way. So, I mean, that is their perception. So that would be reasonable on why they thought that was.
Well, and if we're gonna dismantle that, then I know you're not real keen on policy, but let's call it kind of the rules of meet and confer then, if we're not writing a policy.
Well, we have a policy.
Well,
We have a policy.
let's look
go.
at it.
We're
Let's
not-
look at it.
We can't force staff to come. We
Yeah,
can't force
Yeah,
staff
right.
to come. But if you have a concern, it's gotta come, if you have a concern and it hasn't gone through your supervisor, and it's not been resolved, or you still want the school board to hear about it, it has to come from you on a concern form to the district administrator.
And I think sounds like we're kind of agreeing, we do need to meet Robert's Rules of Orders, that tightens my approach up, and then we can review it, and then I think, because we'll update, I think there is a policy, right? We had a policy on it?
Guidelines.
No, guidelines for me to confer, but it's not.
And then we might
Yes.
want to add some wording to, so we'll drive it, I don't mind driving it, but we might take your inputs so that it resonates to a staff member.
Well, then we
What they
want to
can do.
articulate.
Right,
how to
because
get
if the way we write it, we might think, hey, we had this long discussion, but the words, based on someone who's been a teacher for 20 years, they're going to interpret, there's a representative that goes to this meeting and she was assigned, so I will bring you my concerns. So help us with that wording so that, because I haven't been a teacher, right? So when they read it, they say, oh, anyone remember this meeting and I should talk to my person at the time prior to that?
I think if you read my Friday flyers, I think I put in there, everyone's welcome to come. I don't know. I would hope they.
So you're saying we're.
I would hope so. No, it's not working, so it's not working like
let's
we're
take a
looking
look
for
at
the
it.
purpose, yeah.
So we want to continue it because we think it's a valuable tool for the
Yes.
staff and the board. We just want to make sure that we follow our parameters and honor the chain of command.
And everybody understands how it works.
And that might just be it. We
So
may
we'll-
find that the guidelines are good, we just gotta keep helping the community understand what it really means.
So we'll try to move that forward to,
So bring it back next
Take a look
month to look
next
at
month.
Right.
our guidelines and establish guidelines.
so that would conclude our regular business. I'll take a motion to convene to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Karen?
Aye.
Me, aye.
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 Motion carried at 9:01 PM. Okay, we are back in session. Is there a motion on the post-retirement benefits for support staff?
I will so move that the language remain the same in Appendix G of the employee handbook, and that we revisit the 20-year eligibility so that it's better defined, and the two employees in question be given the same eligibility as employees of 2014.
Second.
Other questions or discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then there is a motion for the 8th grade middle school boys basketball coach.
Recommendations, Lindsay Dion.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Lindsay DeYoung as the 8th grade middle school boys basketball coach.
Second?
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion? We have our next meeting is November 21st, 2019. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried at 9:31 PM.